We all know this one.
Make my own decisions. What a stupid thing to say. Lord, I need you every day.
You shall not murder. Exodus 20, verse 13, uses the word ratzak for murder. Ratzak means to murder, slay. Strong's Concordance says this: put to death, kill, manslayer, murderer. It's a primitive root, properly to dash in pieces, i.e., kill a human being, especially to murder, put to death, kill, manslayer. All right, I've heard this verse quoted as "thou shalt not kill." Let's make an important distinction between the word murder and the word kill. This blurb is from one of my cross-examined instructors on his Cold Case Christianity website. I'll put the link in the description. It says, the Hebrew word for murder literally means the intentional, premeditated killing of another person with malice. Interesting, most of us are familiar with this definition of murder because it is reflected in the penal codes of our country, the USA. The article goes on to say, in my home state of California, the penal code provides this definition of murder. 187. A. Murder is the unlawful killing of a human being or a fetus with malice aforethought. Malice is a form of evil intent that separates murder from killing. Even today, there are acceptable forms of killing that lack this kind of evil intent, and these forms of killing exist as exceptions in the murder laws of the United States. In California, for example, a homicide is justified according to Penal Code sections 187, 196, and 197, if one of the following conditions is met. A person kills someone accidentally. A person is trying to defend him or herself and prevent his or her own murder, self-defense. A person is trying to prevent someone from entering his or her house to commit some violent felony. A person is trying to prevent the murder of someone else, protecting an innocent. In all these situations, killing is actually legal and justifiable, and exceptions of this nature exist in the penal codes of every state in America. Even those who don't accept the existence of God or the authority of the Bible recognize the necessity for laws like these. Laws that allow for deadly force to be used to accomplish some greater good. Okay, now that we have that base, let's talk about what Jesus said about murder in Matthew 5. Let's read it together. You have heard that the ancients were told, you shall not murder, and whoever commits murder shall be answerable to the court. But I say to you that everyone who is angry with his brother shall be answerable to the court. And whoever says to his brother, you good for nothing, shall be answerable to the Supreme Court. And whoever says, you fool, shall be guilty enough to go into the fiery hell. Therefore, if you are presenting your offering at the altar, and there remember that your brother has something against you, leave your offering there before the altar and go. First be reconciled to your brother, and then come and present your offering. Come to good terms with your accuser quickly, while you are with him on the way to the court, so that your accuser will not hand you over to the judge, and the judge to the officer, and you will be thrown into prison. Truly I say to you, you will not come out of there until you have paid up the last quadrans. as in paying the last penny. A quadrant was the smallest Roman copper coin. The word fonduo is the word used in this passage for murder. It means to kill, to murder. Helps Word Studies says this about phonos. Murder, homicide. To murder, commit intentional, unjustified homicide. Strong's Exhaustive Concordance says this: to be a murderer of, to slay. Let's talk about what word is used for the word angry. Strong's Concordance says this of orgizo, to make angry. Helps Word Studies says of orgizo, be angry, as expressing a fixed anger, settled opposition. To show settled opposition is positive when inspired by God, and always negative when arising from the flesh. Sinful, unnecessary anger focuses on punishing the offender rather than the moral content of the offense. Did you hear the difference there? Strong's Exhaustive Concordance says this: from orge, to provoke or enrage, i.e. passively become exasperated, be angry, wroth. Have you called someone a good for nothing or something like it? So what's wrong with good for nothing? Strong's Concordance says this of the word raka, which is translated good for nothing. Empty, an expression of contempt. Helps Word Studies goes on about raka, apparently related to the Aramaic term rock, empty, properly empty-headed. This term expressed contempt for a man's head, viewing him as stupid and without sense, i.e. a numbskull who acts presumptuously and thoughtlessly. Fool is the word translated from moros. What does that word sound like to you? Moros? Strong's Concordance says moros, dough, stupid, foolish. Helps Word Studies puts this into perspective. Moros, the root of the English terms moron, moronic. How many times have you used that word this week? Properly, dull, insipid, flat, without an edge, figuratively, mentally inert, dull in understanding, nonsensical, moronic, lacking a grip on reality, acting as though brainless. We are made imago Dei. That means we're made in the image of God. I imagine it's a huge insult to Him when we insult His image bearers. We don't know what He intends for them. Name calling is vicious, and make no mistake, it is an attack on a person's character. I get why Jesus explains it as murder. There's malicious intent there. We want to make somebody pay with our words, even if they can't hear us. Like the hymn we sang yesterday at church says, they'll know we're Christians by our love. For King and Country is a favorite band of mine, and they actually made a really good remix of this many years ago. I'll put the link in the description. And as always, thank you so much for being here today. Make sure to hit the subscribe button right there and click the bell so you get notifications. Hit that like button for me too. And I will see you next time.
This is why we're here.
Maranatha.
This is why He gave us life. So let His love shine through in everything we do. It's all for love.